today's video, I'll be doing a different form of versus video. Instead of analyzing a matchup battle between specific characters, I'll instead be taking two legendary weapons from different franchises and giving my opinion on which is objectively better, the lightsaber or the power sword. The lightsaber is a traditional weapon of many Force organizations within Star Wars, mainly the Jedi and the Sith. Its main distinguishing feature is the plasma blade that emits energy from the hilts. The blade is able to maintain its form due to a force containment field that also protects the wielder from any residual harm. As each lightsaber is made by the force-wielding individual, most of the time, they are built to suit the needs of the wielder, meaning that no two lightsabers are exactly the same. The lightsaber comes in many different forms, such as the double-bladed lightsaber or saber staff, the light pike, the light whip, crossguard lightsaber, and many others. For this video, a basic single-hilted lightsaber will be examined. The power sword is one of the most lethal close quarters weapons in the entirety of the Warhammer universe, employed by high-ranking Imperial soldiers and Space Marine legions, the Eldar as well, and their dark counterparts, the Dark Eldar, and the Necrons. In this video, I'll simply be observing a standard Imperial power sword. It is essentially a regular broadsword or saber, depending on the make, that is usually made from adamantium, with a power cell situated within its hilt. The blade can then be activated by a control switch on the hilt, which engulfs it in a field of disruptive lightning-like energy. During the years leading up to the Horus Heresy, the production of the weapons within the Imperium were done by the tech priests of the Mechanicum, or highly specialized artificers. Like the lightsaber, power swords had multiple variants, known as patterns, such as the Munitaran pattern and the Mark II Mars pattern, utilized by the modern Imperium's Imperial Guard and Dark Angel Space Marine chapter respectively. There was also the Proteus pattern, used by the Space Marine legions during the Horus Heresy. On a side note, there are other forms of power weapons, such as power spears and power fists. Now that I've given a rundown of the basics of each weapon, it's time for me to go through each category and assess how well they stack up against one another. The first category will be efficiency with both weapons, and to keep it balanced, I'll be comparing both weapons as if they were wielded by average humans. Within the Legends continuity, the weapon was near difficult to handle if the wielder was not attuned to the Force. This was due to the strong gyroscopic technology within the hilt, needing for one to have much greater amounts of strength and dexterity. Individuals like Grievous and Pre Vizsla were able to meet these requirements due to the former being a cyborg and the latter being a peak human Mandalorian warrior. However, within the canon continuity, it seems that any average being can wield the weapon, even those with little to no knowledge of swordsmanship. Although this doesn't make the handling of the weapon perfect, as there is still the issue of a weightless blade, which in a one-on-one confrontation can throw the wielder off if they don't have any specialized training and or experience. Moving on to the power sword, there isn't much to delve through in this weapon, as it is simply a regular sword surrounded by a field of disruptive energy. While I'll admit, you will need sufficient training to wield the sword properly. The weapon should be more simpler to employ as the blade has a weight to it, so the wielder has some natural feel of control over the movement of the sword. This is very key, especially as we're comparing the handling of the two, and if the weapons were to come into contact, which I'll get into later, being able to understand and have a feel for the weapon and duel is quite handy, which puts the power sword over the lightsaber for this category in my opinion. For the next category, we'll be looking at construction. With the lightsaber, the assembly can only be performed by a force wielder, as the parts must be telekinetically put together and everything must be aligned accordingly. If not, it could risk the weapon exploding. Usually, a force crystal is utilized as one of the two focusing lenses, however any sort of crystal could be used. The main components were the hilt casing, the crystal, a separate focusing lens, and the Daitium power cell. Power sword on the other hand was produced by either tech priests of the Mechanicum or skilled craftsmen in Space Marine legions, such as the Salamanders and Blood Angels. A power cell resides within the hilt with circuitry running up from said hilt onto parts of the blade. The actual process of making one has actually never been disclosed, but we do know that it takes a large amount of time and resources to produce. Overall, this is difficult to call, as both can take a long amount of time and resources to create, and one would need to have a special prerequisite to produce both, such as the Force or extremely technologically advanced knowledge from the Age of Strife. No wedge is going to be given in this category. On to the final category, which is going to lead up to the eventual verdict, destructive capacity. While the lightsaber is noted as radiating no heat, This was until it came into contact with something solid and could cut through almost anything. The speed at which it could cut an object, depending on the density and obviously the strength of the wielder. An electromagnetic field is what allows lightsaber to repel blaster bolts and other lightsabers. There are also materials that could withstand attacks from lightsabers, and even go as far as to temporarily disabling them. The main ones were frike and cortosis. The purified version of the latter was able to disable the blade for a brief period of time when it came into contact. Among other things that could bypass a lightsaber was slugs from slug throwers, which would move through a lightsaber blade and strike the force wielder with molten remains. Force spikes were also readily available to the rest of the galaxy, which had tips that could collide with the lightsaber blade with no residual damage. The power sword functions differently, as it is an ordinary blade covered in a disrupted field and can quite literally cut through almost any physical material. We know that the way it works is the field surrounding the blade weakens the molecular bonds of any state of matter, meaning that the blade doesn't necessarily cut things, but rather splits them on contact, if that makes sense. The only thing that can stand up to a power sword would be supernatural based defenses, demon weapons, and exotic materials, such as the micro-dragon teeth on Angron's chain axes, and the teeth of an unknown creature on Rogel Dawn's chainsword, Storm's Teeth. Now I feel that again the power sword gets the edge in destructive capacity, and here's the reason. The only two things that can counter the weapon are those of metaphysical nature and exotic bladed edges, two of which are only known in the entire Warhammer universe. Now I know it's unfair as they are from two different universes, but it's much easier to battle a Jedi with an array of weapons available versus going up against a Space Marine without a power sword. And now for the closing topic. What happens when a lightsaber collides with the power sword? Well, the answer is simple. The power sword cuts the lightsaber in half. Now before you spam the dislike button, allow me to explain. The lightsaber is comprised of plasma, which is one of the four states of matter. Therefore, it meets the requirements for having its atoms being susceptible to the disruption field of the power sword. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If so, let me know in the comment section, and be sure to back up your points with evidence. I'd love to hear what you guys think, and also be sure to like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a nice day, may the Force be with you, and the Emperor protects.